Let's do an advice from a teacher because it's been a little while. Simplest piece of advice I can give: turn in your work. Yeah, that sounds like a no duh statement, but the reality is, across elementary school and middle school, we start establishing some kind of bad habits in our kids because most states have adopted policies where kids in elementary or middle school have functionally the whole year to turn work in. It's not quite that loose in some locations, but in some it is actually that extreme. That if they turn it in at any point, it can no longer be counted as late. Now, what that sets them up for is that immediately when they hit high school, they can actually start failing. And even if the teacher is kind of lenient, because most high schools still let teachers set their policy for how long they have to turn in late work, even if that teacher's pretty lenient, usually there is a cutoff point, and they're not used to that. They're used to being able to scramble at the last minute, turn stuff in. I still kind of let that happen for my classes, but I've started imposing more cutoff limits because of the increasing volume of students trying to turn things into the last minute. So we're sort of establishing some bad habits early on and then not cutting them back out. Now, easiest solution to this would be to actually transition them towards more strict turn-in standards across middle school, which would make sense since middle school is meant to transition you from elementary to high, but we really don't. We just kind of drop you straight into the high school atmosphere. Um, but the point of turning things in, even if you think something is not done well enough, there are times where you could talk to a teacher and say, "Hey, can I get an extension on this project or this piece of homework or whatever?" Give them a realistic time frame. Like if you know you got a game that afternoon and between that other events going on in your life, you're not going to have but a half hour to dedicate to getting this late piece of work turned in. Don't ask for just one day. Give them an actual time frame where you think you can get it finished and ask for that. Or ask them if you turn it in, if you can do a second attempt on it to try to get a better grade. There are alternatives, but if you don't turn something in, you just get a zero. And zeros, even on a total point scale, don't tend to average out very well. So you're better off turning something in and then trying to work out a way to raise that grade than turning absolutely nothing in. Even things you think are halfway done and aren't worth a couple points. Like if someone turns in a half thought out essay that has barely anything to it, I could still at least give them a little bit of credit. And that's easier to recover from than an absolute zero. So turn in your work, even if it's not very good. Have a good night. Video will be out probably the next day or so.